show a video regarding the age-enhanced sketch, followed by a question period with the Dunahees and Chief Manick. Michael Dunahee was 4 years old at the time of his disappearance from the Blanchard School playground 30 years ago today, March 24th, 1991. This morning, we have released an age-enhanced sketch prepared by BC RCMP forensic sketch artist, Corporal Virginia Bernier. This sketch is based on extensive work with the Dunahee family and investigators, and it brings together family history, forensic science, and artistic skill, and it shows what Michael may look like today at age 34. It is our hope that this sketch will continue to inspire the search for Michael, a search that has been one of the largest missing persons investigations in Canadian history. For 30 years, we have worked side by side with the Dunahee family with one common goal: find Michael. To date, we've received over 10,000 tips and have investigated many leads and persons of interest, but we have not yet brought Michael home. Today, our commitment to solving Michael's disappearance is led by the primary investigator, Detective Sergeant Michelle Robertson, who is prepared to follow up on incoming tips generated by this sketch. In preparation for today, a new online tip portal has been launched at vicpd.ca/Michael Dunahee tips, and this new online tool will help investigators manage, process, and prioritize tips about Michael. If I could please ask you to share this widely, the age-enhanced sketch as well as the online tip portal, that would be very helpful to us. Someone out there knows what happened to Michael 30 years ago today, and we need to hear from that person. Thank you.
Today, we are releasing an age-enhanced forensic sketch of Michael Dunahee. This sketch shows an estimation of what Michael Dunahee may look like today at 34 years of age.
When Michael first disappeared, they asked us, what route do you want to take? And we chose the route to make it as public as possible, to get it out there that Michael had disappeared.
I'm Corporal Virginia Bernier. I'm a forensic artist for the RCMP in E Division, British Columbia. Well, it's my hope that by creating this image of Michael, this age progression rendering, that people will be able to view him as he would look today, since it's been 30 years since his disappearance. It's a drastic age difference from 4 to 34.
Kind of weird looking at a 30 or 34-year-old man. I started seeing him when he was 4.5.
I think it encompasses, between our likenesses and our daughter's likeness, a little more realistic than what the previous computer-generated ones had done. So it's a much better drawing of what Michael could possibly look like today.
Well, and I remember that day vividly. It was March 24th of 1991. I was a police officer in Vancouver, and I had just started my policing career in 1990, a year earlier. But because I'm born and raised here in Victoria, that news caught my attention when I learned of what had happened to Michael. And I can tell you that this particular investigation has been with me for my whole policing career.
It's actually a big honor to be part of this investigation, because I remember it well when Michael disappeared, as we all do here. Not just the investigators, the whole province of British Columbia and Canada and the world were gripped by Michael's disappearance. So my son was very similar in age when he disappeared, and we were all devastated, and we want to work together. So I was pleased to be able to create this to help them bring Michael home.
Whether it's partnerships, whether it's missingkids.ca or it's Child Find, or in this particular case, it's the BC RCMP stepping up and assisting us and partnering with us. Anything that we can do to use technology to our advantage, we will never give up hope.
We've gone 30 years without knowing where Michael is. So if someone recognizes the new sketch of Michael, or knows anything, any little piece of information that can help us find closure, bring Michael back to us, that's what we're asking. We've already taken away 30 years. We need know where he is and what happened.
We are grateful to have the Dunahee family here with us today, and they have made themselves available for questions. In a moment, I'll call them up. We'll take questions one at a time, as I believe Bowen has explained already. We'll call on each reporter one at a time to ask their question, and once we're through the room, we'll move to the phone lines. Thank you for your patience and understanding while we work through this. And with that, I would like to welcome the Dunahee family up to the podium.
You guys have everything you need?
Yep. No.
Awesome. I'm gonna start with questions for you. So, looking here and then just work across.
Okay.
I guess just if Michael, if you could speak to him today, or if you were in the room, what would you say to him?
You go. If Michael was in the room right now, I'd just tell him how much I loved him, how much we've missed him over the years, and ask him how he's been doing.
Pretty much the same thing, yeah.
Scott?
Thank you so much for speaking to us today. We've seen sketches in the past. This is obviously an incredible tool. It's going to go out widely, and I hope it makes a big difference. We've seen other investigations in the Capital Region use new technology, things like DNA, checking into websites where people log their DNA. Have you guys ever went that route? And would you be willing to do that?
I actually have got the ancestry DNAs running.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what you did and why it was important and I guess what you hope to get out of it?
Well, in this day and age, technology is out there, so so many people have suggested, so we finally did do it. And so I've met extended family more than anything else, but yeah, we've got it out there, so if Michael is out there and he's curious, that it would connect with us.
Would you hope, I guess, is that part of this next development? I mean, maybe, would you say, you know, if you're out there, if people are out there and they might not know, you know, their total background, would you tell
Hopeful.
them, hey, get checked because this might be important, it might be a link?
Yeah, we're hopeful that that's what will happen, and we've had people contact us thinking that they're Michael, and it's like, well, do your ancestry DNA, and if it's true, then we'll connect.
Thank you.
Everybody, it's Leslie, you want to have any questions? Are you gonna just wait for the phone?
It's Corey.
Okay. Lan?
Thank you for being here. I'm sure it's difficult with all that cameras, so I appreciate you taking the time. When you look at that photo 30 years later, what's your feeling when you look at that? How do you feel when you see that image?
It's heart-wrenching to see, because last time we saw him, he was 4 years old, so 30 years later, there's a grown man standing in front of you, so it's hard.
Same, just wondering how he turned out in his life, how we seen him like that, sort of, it's just odd and weird to see him without actually watching progress to that age and picture.
And if I can ask you how the past 30 years have felt for your family?
Parts are moving forward, but parts are not caught in a time warp behind, waiting to catch up.
Did you want to add anything?
No.
Scott, do you have any follow-ups? Any follow-ups from the folks in the room before I go to the phones?
Awesome. Sorry.
So go ahead.
We've heard that this is has been one of the largest investigations in Canadian history as far as missing persons is concerned. You know, you're working with a large team still. Are you happy with how many resources are being put to this? Do you want more done? Have you ever gone the private route?
We've had, in the very beginning, people come to us saying to use so-and-so, whatever, but all they wanted was us to pay their fees and everything else, and we refused to do that, so.
Are you happy with the size of the investigation at this point in time?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, everything is what it can be until we find the right piece of information that's missing.
it still amazes me that it's been 30 years and, you know, we can't give up looking for our son, and it's so great to know that the police department and citizens in Canada and around the world haven't given up either. And that's what helps keep us going.
Thank you.
You lost your son 34 years later. You guys are still a married couple. You're holding hands, but it looks a bit behind, you know, the podium there. I'm going to assume that you have a very strong bond. This would have destroyed many families. What is it that keeps you together? Like, how have you been able to, you know, stay together?
We know when to give space. We each have our moments, and we take our space when we need it, and meet back in the middle later. That's about all you can do.
For the questions in the room, is it, I'll ask? Awesome. So I'm gonna move to the phone now, and I'm just gonna go through, by phone number by phone number. And then after that, of course, folks, don't move your cameras yet, or make sure you go back to where you are, because of course, our chief medic's up to answer kind of more investigative questions of that as well. All right, so folks on the phone, we're gonna start with you next. The way to unmute yourself is *6, but I'm actually gonna go kind of phone number by phone number, if that's all right. I apologize. Now, there's 16 of you on the phone. The way I'm gonna get you to do this, please, is when you unmute yourself, I'm gonna call your phone number, you're going to unmute yourself, you're going to say your name and who you're with, and then, Bruce and Crystal are at the podium, and they'll answer your questions. You may have to speak up while they're on the phone, so they can hear you, but
Okay.
we'll make sure.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go step by step. So we're gonna start with, person with the 236-646-45334 number. If you can please unmute yourself, just wanna make sure this works for you.
Is now exiting.
Hi, you're from CBC in Victoria. I think that was my number you were reading out.
Kieran, it is. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. Bruce, Crystal, I know that this is a tough time. I can only imagine what you guys are going through and have been going through. And I was wondering if maybe you could put into your own words sort of your emotional state right now, coming to the 30th anniversary and with this new tool that you're hoping to find your son. Maybe you could speak to sort of where you guys are emotionally, and it's a little bit hard to hear, so maybe you could begin with Mike.
Well, it's just to see Michael in drawings, it's hard to imagine, but we're hopeful that this new art, or the new drawing, will help Michael find himself and bring him home to us.
Awesome. Kieran, were you able to get that?
Corey Sidaway with Check News. Is
Yeah,
now
no, I
exiting.
did hear that. I was just sort of curious because, when we're writing this up, we want to represent sort of where you guys are at, and I know you're hopeful that you're going to find it. This 30th anniversary, does this have a particular significance to you?
Well, 30 years, it has been a long time. Me and the wife both think that we hope it never would have lasted this long, but we got to keep looking, because we got to find our son. And it's hard, like anniversary dates, his birth dates, Christmas dinners, family gatherings without Michael there. It's not just this day that's hard for us. There's a lot of days throughout the year, and we just try to cope as best as we can.
All right.
Yeah. No, I can understand. I'm sorry. Can I just one follow-up? This is actually
Sure.
related. Michael was given 34. I'm 35. I find that mind-boggling to think about how long he's been gone. I'm curious if you've thought about maybe the experiences that he's been through in that sort of time gap, and maybe you could talk a little bit about the loss of that you've experienced.
I think they're gonna politely decline following up on that one, Kieran. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome, thank you. So next, we're gonna have the person at 250-381-16397. So last phone number is 16397. And Karen, if you can try star 6 to mute yourself, please. All right, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, it's Sandy at Keypack.
Hi, Sandy.
I'm just wondering on the ad that's coming out, this could produce a lot of leads that obviously may go nowhere. And I'm just wondering, obviously it could also produce finally the lead we're looking for. What kind of, I'm just wondering what kind of information could turn this case? Would it be some thinking, wow, I look like that? I don't know my history or where it came from. I have no baby pictures to look at. Or would it be somebody who maybe was aware of the symptom? Probably more a question for police as well.
I'm thinking, well, hopefully Michael will recognize the picture of himself and start asking the questions that he needs to ask to help find his way home. Also, there's people that might recognize this picture and know somebody that looks like him, and hopefully they can get him to do a DNA test to help find our son.
All right, Sandy, do you have any follow-up there?
Yeah, sorry, I'd just like to hear from one of the investigators to
We'll
what they think the sketch will do. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll do that next. We'll do another round with Chief Manic shortly. If you can do star 6 to thank you very much. Thank goodness for the mental health months. People don't know how to do this. Next, we're going to move to 604-433-12778. So that's 2778. Please unmute yourself. Let us know who you are, and yeah, you can start answering questions. So if you're at that 604-331-2778, you're not unmuted yet. So if you can please go ahead and unmute yourself, that would be great. There you go. I can see you're unmuted now. So please introduce yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, it's Janet Brown from CKNW. Can you hear me okay?
We can, Janet. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This is a question to the parents, and I'm just wondering if they could please step up closer to the mic because the quality over the phone line is not very good, unfortunately. So I think closer to the mic would be helpful.
Okay.
The question is, as a parent myself, I think I've always thought about Michael, especially when my child was young. I never took my eyes off my child in the park because of Michael Dunahee case and him going missing. And I think that was probably the case for a lot of parents and changed how we parented. So my question to you is, do you still, in your day-to-day lives in Victoria, are you always looking for Michael and looking at people and thinking, I wonder if that's him? Is it constantly on your mind like that? Are you always searching when you're out and about, etc.?
Most definitely. Like even in our travels, when we travel around the countrysides, always looking, wondering if Michael could be in the area that we're visiting. It's hard not to.
Do you have a follow-up there?
And I'm just wondering, the father Bruce too, what are his thoughts on it? He's always looking around at people and wondering, gee, is that Michael perhaps? And, I mean, it's got to be on your mind 24/7, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's on my mind most definitely most of my life, all my time. That's why 90% of the time I always wear Michael Dunahee t-shirts. So I got his picture on my chest, so hopefully other people can ask me and ask questions, so to help me find him.
All right. Awesome. We're good to move on. If you can mute yourself, please. Next, 604-346-9424. That's the last 4 digits of 9424. If you can use star 6 to unmute yourself, please. And please introduce yourself and answer the question. I see you're unmuted. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and ask your question. You might want to try unmuting yourself. We cannot hear you if you're trying to ask your question. I can see that you're unmuted on the phone, but
Okay, right, that looks better, I guess.
yes, it does.
Yeah, so this is Ramuka from CBC French in Vancouver. I was wondering, maybe you answered that hearing on the phone. In the last, like, 30 years, were there any promising leads that gave you, like, that made you really hopeful?
I can't hear.
Sorry, Raluca, we couldn't really hear you, so I'm going to try to kind of repeat your question as best as I could. I believe what Raluca is asking is there any particular moments that during the last 30 years that have given you hope?
Go ahead.
No, you go.
There's always tips that are coming in, and obviously we don't hear about every single one of them, so it's hard to say if there was any particular tip that gave us hope.
Basically, yeah, we don't get filled in on a lot of the tips because you go on a big high, then you get the big letdown. And so we try not, we hear about the odd one, but we don't follow a lot of that stuff. We leave that with the police to deal with for us.
Awesome. All right, Raluca, do you have any follow-ups, or should we move on?
You can move on. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Raluca. All right, next, 780-886-3594. That's last four digits at 3594. If you can please unmute yourself and ask your question. So, Raluca, if you can go ahead and mute yourself, and first with the last four digits of 3594, please. There you go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you for taking my call. How the parents are reflecting on the Amber Alerts that they've regression of how they have come about.
How what?
Sorry, we lost you a little bit there. Can you start by letting us know who you are, and then again ask your question one more time, please?
Yeah, this is Ryan from Victoria Bus, and I was just curious on how the family has set up Amber Alerts and how they have progressed from 1991 to now.
How what?
Amber.
So Ryan, I don't believe the Dunahees have been involved in setting up Amber Alerts.
Well, I was kind
really?
of.
Okay, you even really?
Yeah.
That's something you can speak to?
Well, unfortunately, the Amber Alert would not have helped in Michael's case due to the parameters of it. So there's not much that particular alert could have done. We relied on, because we didn't know how he disappeared from the field. We had no description of who took him. There was nothing to attach to an Amber Alert the way it has been set up.
Ryan, did that answer your question there?
Yeah, and is behind where you see Amber Alerts now and how they're going in the future.
That's with the police departments. I have no control over that.
Yeah. You can follow up with that one with Chief Medic, or we can follow up with you with by an email to engage. You want to talk more about details of Amber Alerts? Glad to do that. All right, we're going to move on to if you can, go ahead and mute yourself there, Ryan. Thank you for that. 250-888-7997. That's 250-888-7997. If you can please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and then ask your question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Hi, this is Roxanne Egan-Elliott from the Times Colonist. Thanks so much to Crystal and Bruce for your time. I know today is a tough day. I'm just wondering if you can share with us what you'll do with a family to remember Michael today.
It's just a matter of keeping your eyes open for Michael, based on the drawing, and talking about it with your own families to keep your children safe.
Roxanne, do you have a follow-up there?
I was just wondering if there's any sort of special tradition
No. We got our daughter and granddaughter with us today, and they'll be coming back to our house. We'll just lounge around, try to unwind and relax the rest of the day.
Awesome. Awesome. So we'll get you to, yeah, thanks, Roxanne. We'll get you to mute, and then we'll move down our phone list here. Next up, area code 604-880-7046. So last four digits of 7046. Please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and go ahead and ask your question, please. Hello.
Yeah, hi there. It's Ted.
Yeah, go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to ask, the idea that, Michael has sort of same technology, the DNA testing that, is advertised, and you can send your DNA samples away. Family history, the genealogy now available to them. And the fact that, you still haven't heard from him, it's kind of wearing on you a little bit and taking your hopes.
No, because we haven't had anything to tell us otherwise. We continue to keep that hope alive that one day he'll be able to find us based on all the new technologies and services that are available to him out there.
Ted, do you have a follow-up question for them?
Follow-up question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I do. Just a quick question, just like that. At some point, people must have asked, well, why did he put himself through this, and how much longer will he do this? And it's got to be so wearing off. And how much longer can you do this?
As long as it takes.
Yeah.
That was a choice that we made 30 years ago to keep it out there public as long as, to take it this route, to keep it out there so people wouldn't forget, so that we could find Michael and be able to move on.
Yeah, basically, me and Crystal, we don't like losing, and this is one battle we're not going to lose. We're going to keep looking till we get some results, no matter how long it takes.
So thank you for that question there, Ted. Moving forward, area code 250-418-5779. That's last four numbers, last four numbers 5779. If you can unmute yourself, please, and go ahead and introduce yourself, ask a question. Although we're going to take a second here because we have a running child who just took over my microphone. Awesome. Chris is averted. For a second, we'll let you reset there, Johnny.
Hi, it's Dirk Meisner from the Canadian Press here in Victoria.
Go ahead, Dirk.
I'd like to ask Crystal and Bruce when they what do they think of the artist and police have done in composing this picture of Michael as he would be 34 years old.
Dirk, can I get you to ask that question one more time? You got a little bit, we lost a little bit of your question there. So please go from the top again, please.
Okay, I'd like to ask the family what they think of the artwork, how the picture, like, were they surprised or impressed with what they saw?
Yeah, we were working with the artist while she was doing the work on it, and we were quite pleased with the outcome.
Dirk, do you have a follow-up question there?
Can you elaborate a little with the outcome? What did it bring to you?
Well, seeing it rather than being drawn from a person's eyes rather than computer generated as the past ones have been done, it seems a little more realistic than what has come from other drawings.
Hey, Herbert, how are you? Yeah. Hey, do you want to go see Mom? Can you go see Mom?
Go see Mommy.
Go see Mom. Sorry, Dirk, we have a child standing in front of you. Actually, what we're going to do here, so Dirk, thank you for that. I'll get you to mute yourself, and then we'll move to our next. question? We have 4 people left on the phone.
Okay.
And for everyone on the phone, by the way, we are recording all of it as well with the microphone in the room, which we'll make available on our YouTube immediately following the press conference, because I know the audio hasn't worked really great for you folks, so we'll get that to you up as soon as we can as well. All right, so next, area code 604-877-4400, 4400. Please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question. So 4400, please *6 to unmute yourself. Please introduce yourself and ask your question. One last time, 604-877-4400. Please unmute yourself with *6, introduce yourself and ask your question. All right, moving on. 604-209-2802. So our last number is 2802. *6 to unmute yourself, please, and go ahead and introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hi there. My name is Alice McKean. I'm calling Toronto Star. For taking the time to speak with all of us and for your patience over the phone. I wanted to ask, over the years, the search for your son has touched so many Canadians and people around the world. And you, especially Crystal, I know you've worked with Childline and with other families who have experienced. And I wonder what that experience, the working with other families and speaking with other families, what kind of that played in your life, and has it been a healing experience at all?
I guess it has been, because you don't, it's not a club you want to be a part of, but I do what I can to help other families understand the ups and downs and what route to go based on their circumstances, and leave it with them on how they decide to proceed from there.
Do you have a follow-up there?
Yes, I do. I wonder, just over the last few years, if there's been anything else in your life that has, the right word, but helped you particularly to get through the tough spots. Has there been anything in particular that you can tell us about that's been helpful for you?
I guess my own going out and pounding the pavement, go for a run, go for a workout, just to clear the mind.
Plus, we have our daughter who's a year, just 6 months old when Michael disappeared. We've been very involved in her upbringing and coaching and helping volunteer around her. So we try to keep a balance in our lives, as well as looking for our son. We also had a daughter we had to raise too.
Thank you for that question. We're going to move ahead to 778-686-2776. So that's the last 4 of 2776. *6 to unmute yourself, please. Go ahead and then introduce yourself, and please ask your your question, please. 2 more.
Hi, my name is Emily from Solution Dunahee. I have a question. After 30 years of searching, are you now more or less hopeful that life is found?
I don't think that's changed. We're constantly keeping that hope alive to find Michael.
Yeah, nothing's really changed, is it? Every year we keep hoping this will be the year, but other than that, nothing's changed. We keep our faith and hope that Michael's going to show up sooner or later.
Do you have a follow-up there?
Yeah. How do you think of Michael in your family to keep his memory alive?
What was that?
What do you folks do? How do you as a family help keep this memory alive?
We have our annual run that we do, and we're always thinking of him on his birthday or any special occasions that happen to come up.
Awesome. I'll get you to mute. We're moved to our last question for the Dunahees from the phone line. So that's 604-662-6356. So last four of 6356. If you go ahead and unmute yourself with *6 and introduce yourself and ask your question, please. So last four of 6356. *6 to unmute yourself and ask your question, please. All right, one last time. Go ahead. Oh, nope, never mind. 604-662-6356. *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. Please introduce yourself and then ask your question, please. All right, fair enough. So for folks who are on the phone, I know that the audio may not have been great. As I said, we are actually recording with another microphone in the room. We'll have that YouTube video up so you can grab the audio from that question and that answer if you need to. Thank you very much. Yeah, Cam?
Thanks, guys.
And we'll have Chief Manick up shortly for folks on the phone.
Thank you, guys.
Janet Brown, the DNW, is now exiting.
Hold on.
Brian,
That might help with the phone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to thank the Dunahee family for making themselves available today and for your courage in answering the questions and being so available. Thank you. Now going to welcome Chief Manick to the stage. We'll follow the podium. We'll follow the same order of operation with Bowen calling on reporters in the room and then moving to the phone lines one at a time. And with that, Chief Manick.
Good morning, everyone. Just before I take questions, I just wanted to comment on Constable McIntyre's last comment, just regarding the Dunahee family. This is, as you can imagine, been terribly difficult for the family, and I wanted to just, as Constable McIntyre was commenting, thank the Dunahee family for their courage, their strength, their support. The Victoria Police Department, through a number of investigators from 30 years ago, have been working with the Dunahee family, and I can tell you that Bruce and Crystal have been phenomenal to work with. They've cooperated with us, and we've shared information as much as we could throughout this investigation, right up till the 30-year anniversary, which is today. So I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
Scott, we'll start with you right away. Yeah, 100%.
So question and follow-up.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said that you were in Vancouver at this time. I mean, just digging back through all the work here, have you ever seen an investigation that's been taken on that's had this scale? I mean, we're hearing terms like the largest in Canadian history. I mean, it's not that that's hard to believe, but that must be enormous. Talk about the enormity of this, and do you still connect with officers who were there around that time to help piece the whole thing together?
Sure, yeah. There's no doubt about it. In my 31-year policing career, this investigation is unparalleled. I have not seen an investigation, the circumstances of a 4-year-old boy going missing in a park in beautiful Victoria. And then here we are 30 years later. I never would have imagined that we would be having this press conference here today. That's been challenging. But I know that we've had investigators on this case from day one. Hundreds of investigators, hundreds of volunteers who in the early stages were out, all with a common mission of finding Michael. And, I don't keep in touch with the retired members, many of which I don't know from the time that I kind of started my career here, but I do talk to some of the retired members, and when they reflect on their career, Michael's name does come up, and this is, again, an investigation that we want to bring to a close. It's been 30 years. We really, really are looking to this sketch and looking at a 30-year enhancement, again, using the latest technology, specially trained forensic artist to do up a rendering of what Michael may look like today. We're all about having our tip line open and asking people of any information that they may have, or if they've seen Michael, based on the latest sketch that we have, to please call us. Anything that we can do to further our investigative tips is going to lead to the closure that we're looking for. And we do hold hope. We have hope, and we have one common goal with the Dunahee family, is that we want to find Michael. That's our sole purpose.
Terms like, I mean, throughout the coverage of this story, which is also enormous, terms like vanished, obviously missing persons are always talked about. At this point in time, from an investigative standpoint, do you have an idea of what happened to this little boy on that day in the park?
Right.
What happened?
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's the question that we're trying to answer.
You don't know. You have no
The answer.
Ideas?
No. The answer is. I mean, there's always possible different scenarios that the investigators have looked at, but we don't know. We don't know what has happened to Michael, and our goal is to get to the bottom, find out what the truth is. We know that there is someone who is holding the truth, someone who has seen something. Somebody who, and again, there's two aspects to this. One is the aspect of when Michael first disappeared 30 years ago today, in the early afternoon, on that field on Blanchard Street there. The other part is where Michael possibly could be. And so if, as you heard from the Dunahee family, if somebody has seen Michael, or if Michael even sees a picture of himself and recognizes himself, these are all areas that we want to investigate, and we have to be open to all possibilities. And we are. We have to be very open-minded, and we have to take the information that we receive and make sure that every tip that we receive, we follow up thoroughly.
The family mentioned that they've seen other computer-generated renderings. Can you just mention, I guess, how often are these kind of sketches used in cold cases, and what are the benefits to that?
Sure. So our investigators are always working with the latest technology that we have, anything that we can have to further an investigation. The purpose here, again, we have one common goal, and it's to find Michael. So whatever means that we have at our disposal. In this particular case, we're put in touch with somebody who was highly specifically trained as a forensic artist, and to be able to render a sketch of what Michael may look like today is just yet another investigative tool that we want to use to get the public to calling us. So I think that this changes throughout, in 30 years is a long time, and so the technology has changed. DNA is certainly used at a much higher capacity and to greater success than it ever has been used. So any investigative steps, tools that we can use that would further our investigation, we're open to and we're using. And so this is why we feel that on the 30th anniversary, to release this sketch could perhaps generate additional tips that we think could further the investigation.
Was there any DNA found in the park that day that advancements in DNA tracking has helped out with?
Right. I don't have that information in front of me, but I can assure you that the investigators have all the information. There's been over 10,000 tips that have been followed up at different stages throughout this 30-year period, and we're looking for more tips from the public, and hopefully a tip that is going to lead us to find Michael.
You sort of touched on it a little bit, but I'm just wondering about the technology advancements 30 years later.
Right.
high-profile cases recently solved because of, technological advancement? Is there anything other than, the sketch, is there anything that you are willing to talk to us about that is new, that may help
Yeah.
bring this to resolution?
Well, it's an ongoing process. It's an evolution. As technology becomes available to the investigators, we are using that technology to further any investigative steps in finding Michael. So I can share with you that every tip is investigated, but as we look at DNA and other technology, even other organizations who have a greater reach, we're able to tap into those resources and use that to further our investigation. And the challenging part for the police really has been that we haven't been able to find out what happened to Michael, and that's our goal. And so again, the purpose of the news conference today, 30 years is too long, but the goal of this news conference was really to generate additional tips and really get people thinking. And we know that nugget of truth is out there, and we're hoping that individual or group of people will be phoning in with information that may be key. They may not think it's key. It might just be something that they know, but it could lead to some investigative steps or some linkages that we already have that could lead to finding Michael.
This might be an unfair question or an unfair comment. It's like poor Michael disappeared. So and I'm 30 years later. It seems we're focused on somebody out there with a conscience, somebody out there that may know something that doesn't really know something. We seem to be focusing on that avenue. Like we've been here before.
Right.
In past years, asking of the public of the same thing. I just, how successful is, without, the conclusion,
Right.
which we all want, how successful has that been for the investigation?
Well, I think we have to explore all options, right? We only have the options that are before us. Anytime we get information, we want to share it with the public, we want to share it with the Dunahee family, and we want to further the information and access that we have. So we will do that. We will continue to do that. But I think that having these type of news conferences, you heard the Dunahees talk about the keeping the hope alive. Part of that is about hope, but I can assure you that the Victoria Police Department behind the scenes is actively working different angles, looking at different investigative steps and tools that we have. There have been persons of interest. There's been multiple persons of interest. There continues to be persons of interest. So the work that goes on behind the scenes when the cameras are shut off and everyone goes home continues. And for that, I just wanted to acknowledge Detective Sergeant Michelle Robertson for the work that she and her team is doing under the leadership of Inspector Connor King, who runs our Investigative Services Division. So this is something that is we do not forget about. This is something that is an ongoing process. But 30 years is far too long. So we're really, really hoping that this latest forensic kind of sketch that we have with a highly trained artist is going to generate further tips. And again, it is about holding out hope while we do the work behind the scenes.
Alana?
Yeah, thank you, Chief. I think you answered most of my questions. I was just wondering, you said you were starting your career as a young police officer 30 years ago when you first heard about this, or this first happened. Standing here today, as the Chief of Victoria, how do you feel about this and how things are and where everything is at?
Right. Well, I'm very happy that our investigators are following all leads. This has been an open and active investigation for the Victoria Police Department for the past 30 years. And there's been new information come, there's been new tips that have been come. To investigate over 10,000 tips is significant. There's a lot of time and a lot of work because some of those tips that get generated generate other additional tips that then have to be followed up. One thing that I would like to see is I'd like to see closure. I would like to find Michael. I think it's the only thing that we can do for the Dunahee family. And again, I am so grateful for their strength, their courage, their support. The fact that they've worked with us for over 30 years, not given up hope, really speaks, I think, to the core of what the Dunahee family is all about. And we're just very, very blessed to have a family who is as supportive and working with us as we can. What I'd like to do is I'd like to work towards that common goal and give them the answers that they've been looking for the last 30 years and find Michael.
Lana, any follow-up there?
No, thank you.
Right, so Chief, we're gonna move to the phone now. Now I know that the audio wasn't great.
Sure.
So we're gonna do our best. Really appreciate
Sure.
everyone's patience there.
Okay.
So folks on the phone, we have a list of some names now, thanks to Councilman McIntyre, which is great. So we're gonna go through the same process. I'm gonna do my best to get the audio as good as we can here, but do know that we also have a good microphone in the room, and we'll post a video of this press conference on YouTube as soon as we can afterwards, so you can get the audio from that as well. So we're gonna do our best here. Again, really appreciate your patience. I do know that some folks have left the call already. So Chief, there's only 6. You're like half as popular.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Yes,
So-
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Awesome. So first, we're going to start with Kieran at CBC Victoria. Kieran, if you are still on the line, which I think you might be, please go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and say who you are and ask a question. Kieran's there.
Hey, Chief, question here. Heard you say that you've got 10,000 tips. Is that 10,000 over the 30 years? And what are you hoping is going to be different about the tips that you're calling for now?
Sure. Yeah, so yes, those 10,000 tips are over a 30-year period. Some of those tips, as you can imagine, are of different level of quality and integrity and whatnot, and some of those tips can be followed up quite quickly. Others generate further tips and take longer to investigate. What we're hoping for is, because we're using forensic science, and we're using anthropology, and we're using a professionally trained forensic artist for an age-enhanced sketch that we're releasing, we're hopeful that this in itself is going to generate new interest, new information. None of this is possible without all of you in the room here and sharing this amongst your contacts and with our community. The wider that we can distribute this sketch and the information and the anniversary of Michael Dunahee, the larger opportunity that we have, that there's going to be more tips that are coming in. And again, it's just, this is the investigative challenge, which is you've got a number of tips and you have to flush them all out because you have no idea at the front end which tip could be the one that furthers the investigation.
Kieran, do you have a follow-up?
You mentioned that you have had persons of interest in the past, that you currently have people of interest. Could you are there any details that you can share with us at all about the work that you have been doing and are doing?
Sure. Not really, only just because there's some investigative, it's really, really critical with an open and active investigation that there be holdback evidence, and any information that we have, we want to protect the integrity of that investigation. So not really at liberty to go into detail to share that, other than to share that we still are not where we need to be, and we are hoping that this age-enhanced sketch is going to generate more tips that are going to bring closure.
Awesome. Thanks, Kieran. I really appreciate that. Next, Corey, if you're on the line, if you can unmute yourself, please, and go ahead and ask your question. Corey, if you're there, we can't quite hear you yet.
Is now exiting.
So Corey, one more time. I can see that you're unmuted, so please try to unmute yourself, remute and unmute, and go ahead and ask your question, please.
Is now exiting.
Right. Sorry, Corey, we're missing you here. We actually only have 3 left in the room here. So next we're going to move to phone number 604-880-7046. Go ahead. That's good. We can hear. 7046. You just muted yourself. If you can unmute yourself and ask your question, please, that would be great.
Thanks for your patience, guys. Appreciate it.
Ted, awesome. Please go ahead. So Ted, unfortunately, you cut in and out. So we're gonna give this, gonna get you to ask one more time if you can. We're having some audio trouble here, so please go ahead and ask one more time.
I have to go in closer.
Yeah.
Sure. The question is, the map investigation in Portugal is a little similar, I guess. The discovery of a potential suspect in that case, which goes back 12 years, almost 14 years. Anyway, 2007. How has that impacted your investigation in the Dunahee case?
So he's asking about the Madeleine McCain case and any kind of similarities.
Sure. In Portugal?
Yeah.
Yeah, so our investigators are always looking at tips. We're looking internationally, not just nationally, but internationally as well, of other investigations that may be happening, what sort of investigative tools were used. If we feel that there's some similarities, our investigators will reach out to investigators across the world or in other countries to try to advance our investigation. I know that those steps are taken on a regular basis. The police community internationally is actually quite small when it comes to working together in these types of investigations, or at least sharing information. I can't speak specifically to this investigation in Portugal that went on for a number of years from what you're telling me, but I can assure you that our investigators would be using all tools, all investigative tips, and reaching out to expertise internationally if they felt that it would help the investigation here to find Michael.
Awesome. All right, moving. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Ted. One more question.
No, I was confused if there's any kind of a higher profile. Some of these American, missing persons so sometimes generate leads outside of British Columbia. Has there anything like that been done recently that would sort of update the story and get the attention of a wider audience?
Sure. Yeah, so one of the things that our investigators do is to make sure that information is shared as widely as possible. Again, we don't know where Michael is, and so he could be anywhere. So to share this information as widely as possible is advantageous to the investigators. I know that we're working with the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, other national agencies, and then they have their efforts where they're outreaching as well. So anything that we have to our disposal to share information, to spread the message of trying to find Michael, we are taking, we're fully following up on those fronts.
Awesome. And the last person on the phone, that's 604-209-2802. If you can unmute yourself, please, introduce yourself and ask your question. So last 4 digits of 2802.
Battery died?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. So it's the question they
Wait.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll hold, not to worry. Thank you everyone on the phone. We're just going to go back to the room one more time to make sure everyone here has everything that they need. We had a bit of a technical problem in the room.
Can you hear me? It's Sandy.
Oh yeah, Sandy. Yeah, go right ahead.
Thanks for forgetting about me.
I didn't. I thought you were gone. Go ahead and ask away.
Yeah. Just kind of curious, what kind of new technology today that might have made a difference 30 years ago?
Well, Sandy, I mean, that's kind of a loaded question. Every year, every so often, the technology is there. We look at genealogy, we look at DNA, just even having access to a specially trained forensic artist, as we're tapping into for this age-enhanced sketch of Michael, is in itself an additional tool and an opportunity for us to further our investigation, and we're committed to doing that. But it does get easier for investigators with the more tools and the more investigative tools that they have to kind of further their investigative steps. It certainly does help. We wish some of this technology existed 30 years ago, but as it comes available, police agencies across North America and across internationally are sharing this information to further their investigations.
Is now exiting.
All right, Sandy, do you have a follow-up there?
No, that's great, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. I was going to let Johnny get his light back on. Sandy, yeah, we'll have that, the YouTube up if you need the audio from that. So are there any additional questions in the room here for Chief Mac? You guys are all good?
We're good?
Photographers, do you guys have all the shots that you need of Chief Mac?
Okay.
Did you get all the shots you need of the Dunahee family? Sorry, just to make sure. You're good, Dunahee?
Somebody call feedback.
Good, Chief.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks for coming. And just a final thank you, as I was saying earlier. You're critical. Our local media is critical to passing this message out. So anything that you can do to share this information as widely as possible, the Agent Hand sketch, the information, the fact that you can either phone in or you can go to the portal online at vicpd.ca. Simply just give us the information that you may have and let our investigators sort through it and follow up with you on any tips that may come in. So really appreciate your help. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
I think the Chief said it best, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us.
Everybody on